Okay.
It's like, all right, good deal. We are going to make, or let me spotlight the two of us so we act like we know what we're doing. I think this is one of my favorite things to do, which is find what you have sitting around and make something phenomenal. Only thing I like better than this was I was challenged once to get a food pantry box and make, you know, a wholesome, not a gourmet meal, but an elevated meal from just, you know, a food pantry box. And so today we're making damn simple, boring ass soup. Wait a second. People think soup is boring.
I know. Because
Not
it's so
me.
easy to make.
How can we change that? Part of it is all that stuff you are getting ready to throw away, right?
Or that you've forgotten about.
Oh yeah, there's that. So I do.
There's nothing green growing on it, it's still good.
Well, I mean, if it's green, it better have green. So
Unless it's a green, but if it's something else and it's green.
Well,
Well, if it's moldy, throw it away.
I went into the fridge. Now, first, I've said this in past. Anytime I cut off scraps, I save them in a little bag. So in here, I've got like, you know, the onion peels and onion skins and what is this? The heart of a cabbage, you know, the part you throw away. This is all frozen. But I also do in another bag, bones. So these are all chicken bones, and I actually do two soups with the chicken bones. I do a clear broth, the first one, then I take the bones out and crack them and make bone broth, a dark broth.
Well, that one that it looks to me like it, you know, you could. What are you gonna do? You're not gonna put that in the soup, are you?
Okay, well, you don't put it in the soup. This is how you make. Have you ever bought just veggie broth?
Oh, okay, that's what you're gonna do with it, right? I got
That right
it.
there is veggie broth. It's, you know,
Okay.
the green pepper stems, onion skins, cabbage bits, carrot. Now, nothing, of course, that's rotten or nasty, but I just save it all, and I normally can. And I've been cooking so much this winter that I just realized I don't have any veggie broth, so I'm gonna have to make some fresh. So
You could actually throw those things in the pan and then just strain it later if you wanted to.
I have, let me pull it down from up here. I've got a pot rack above my stove here. Let's see if I can get this down. So I just have one of these little baskets that I just put
Oh,
it
good
in
idea.
there,
Perfect, yeah,
and then I can easily strain it. So,
perfect,
you know.
Oh, I like that. That's nice, Horse.
yeah.
But what's fun about that, making that kind of soup, is that you have each time a different flavor. Let's say I was making something with dill and I have all the dill stems or parsley or
Right.
Yeah, the flavor changes, which I find exciting because it's like, oh,
I used to actually separate it. I used to separate basically all the onion skins and onion bits into one bag, and they just make like a, you know, a light onion soup broth. But now, so sorry, Suzanne, for getting all excited, because I'm excited.
No. So what I did before is I've done nothing except tidy up my area. That's it.
Yeah. Now,
So
I
am
actually
not
did go and grab stuff from the fridge, but
I haven't even done that yet. Or
oh yes, this is the best way.
I knew you'd
All
like
right, so
that.
we're gonna make it up on the fly.
The first thing I have to do is I made some biscuits, so I have to take them out of the
Just like the first thing, I made some biscuits. Right?
Well, I had a half an hour, so I thought, I'm gonna I need some cookies. So, all right. So you want to kind of check to see what you have first. Underneath here, I've got things like potatoes and other things. So the one thing I need, everyone has usually an onion. So definitely I'll have an onion in this.
Yeah, I've got this random bowl of things I try to keep for
No.
adding to stuff. So I've got a really dried lemon,
And
dried ginger,
this-
garlic,
this is
jalapeno
an
peppers, and onions. Yep, just leave that
this
on
is
my
an
counter.
Asiatic lily that I need to plant. Do not eat this. They're
Don't
poisonous.
put that in the soup.
Oh, okay.
You said you have a place you store your potatoes. Potatoes are supposed to be in a dark place.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Someone
do
said
it
if you
like
add an
that.
apple to it, the gas from the apple will make the potatoes not sprout.
Right. Well,
Oh, really?
not sprout?
I haven't heard that.
Interesting. Let's see, I've got garlic because I always have garlic on hand. And let's see, so in my fridge, I'll take out the drawer. All right. So here's my drawer for my fridge. I love my fridge.
Yeah, you just took the whole drawer out. Yeah.
Just take the whole drawer. I've got celery, believe it or not. Oh, I've got a very wrinkled green pepper.
Yeah, I've got some like potatoes that are look at how dirty these were picked but never washed carrots. So
I've got carrots. Ooh,
look at these carrots. These ones, the tops are really, I will cut these off. But you know you can eat the tops of carrots?
yes, yes, you can take them, turn them into a carrot top pesto. It's fabulous. Instead of pine nuts, use, I think it's pecans.
I learned from a Chinese guy, you can make a carrot top cucumber stir fry and put it over noodles. It's a really nice for summer.
What was that little package you had that in plastic, Suzanne?
What were you
This
holding?
one,
No, there was another one that you said, oh, and what's that?
oh.
But she
that-
wants to keep some of the rotten stuff secret. I mean,
This one?
No, but.
No, it was like it looked like it was kind of came from the store and it was covered up. It had a covering on it. That's okay. That's
With
okay.
this one?
Never mind.
where's my strainer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, these are just more of these little guys.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I thought,
Alright.
oh, these ones first.
Those little sweet peppers.
Yes, yep.
All right.
Alright,
Peppers. I've got a-
potatoes.
What else do we have in here? Oh, I've got some, I don't know how old these are. I cut these up a while ago. Huh, they look good. So they're carrots. So I'll use these first because they're old. I'll save
Yeah,
these.
you got your mirepoix going there. Carrots and onions and celery.
That's moldy. No,
Yeah.
and it's too dry. Most of these are okay.
So what do you decide not to put in? I mean, too much strong flavors are not good. And of course, rotten or moldy stuff you don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your spices are gonna give it its flavor in the end.
Exactly.
So you can decide along the way what kind of spices you want to use.
Exactly.
So here's how I'm doing the pressure cooker. I put the frozen veggies in there like that. And then because I'm double cooking the bones, I'll make a broth and then crack them and then make a bone broth.
Yeah, tell me about your bone broth and cracking it. I haven't heard that one before.
Well, part of it is I used to crack the bones beforehand, but it's a lot of work to crack. But I found out I'll cook it once, make a light chicken broth, and then I'll take the bones out and let them cool slightly. And then with a nut cracker or a knife, I'll crack them again, or I'll crack them, then
Yeah,
make
it's the marrow in the bone that gives the.
Yeah, but I
proper
mean,
flavor.
chicken bones, we're talking about chicken, right?
Oh yeah, these are all chicken bones.
Yeah, so the chicken, I mean, the nutrient value of a bone broth is, I think, the marrow, but there's not really marrow in the chicken.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
there is.
it'll become chicken broth marrow. It'll be almost black.
Yeah, it must be ugly. Oh, yeah.
And of course, you can be lazy and buy like the little powdered broth mix, but I only use that when I'm desperate. Just like,
Almost slimy.
but
It's fine.
so yeah, I'm just filling this up. So that's gonna be my. I usually have jars and jars of chicken broth or just soup broths. I'll do vegetarian, I'll do chicken, and then I'll do a pork, and then I'll do a beef, all separately. But I've been, and usually I can in the winter when it's, you know, you need extra warmth, right?
Mhm.
But
The first time you can.
I did can a bunch, but I guess I'm not organized because I haven't been able to find where it's at.
What did you can?
I had my blender plugged in. Of my pressure cooker. All right. So I got my bone broth. So the stuff I have, so let's see, Suzanne, what did you end up?
What I've got is carrots.
All right, yeah, I got,
He's
So I got
headed toward
carrots
a mirepoix here with carrot, celery, and onions.
Yep.
I have carrots, potatoes. I got this chard that's, I think the greens don't look too bad, but I like using the bottom part for soup. 'Cause-
That's right. I've got some very leftover, really sad looking kale.
And then surprising, this dill is from like a month ago and it's still like, I forgot it was in the back of the fridge. And it looks
Oh.
pretty good still.
You can freeze it. You could take the tops off and freeze some.
And then you recognize that?
Rosemary,
Yeah,
rosemary.
Yep, that usually I hang that up to dry. And again, I got this from the farmer's market. I got 2 bundles of each. I used 1 bundle and then forgot the rest in the back of the fridge. So, all right. So, I guess I should get a bowl. So cutting up potatoes and carrots.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm not using any potatoes because I don't have any.
Um,
I like
I
that
mean, look how-
Suzanne is
look-
chopping everything up and putting it in the one bowl.
These are
rather
local
than
grown
trying to
carrots,
throw
but
it
look
in the
how
pan.
rough that looks. I mean, after I rinsed, so these are the same ones, but after I rinsed it and took the tops off, they look a lot better. All right. And
So who else is cooking today?
I'm cooking. It's Barbara.
Barbara's and Lulu.
Yeah, I'm cooking.
Nice.
with heat,
What do you have for ingredients?
So at the very beginning, do we put a little oil in the pan and kind of fry the onion or fry a few things or what? Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah, I will eventually. I haven't started that yet, though.
and now we're just cleaning all our scraps and of course, don't forget to save your bits for next time.
Well, I already went into the freezer and got a bunch of stuff and the other part and chopped some things. And so I'm kind of like ahead of the game.
Nice.
Just like,
You can sit.
Barbara, you know you're not supposed to do that. No, just kidding.
I know I'm not supposed to, but you know,
Like, well, in this one, I mean,
I do.
it's all right.
So I
You're
have,
like me.
I
First thing in
have,
the morning, I'm very energetic, and you know, I cooked a bunch of stuff. Like Suzanne cooked her biscuits already.
Hold on, or give Lulu's got her hand up.
yeah, sorry. So I have basically what you have, Suzanne, and that's red pepper, carrot, celery, onion. 2 of the things that I have will cook relatively quick, and that's zucchini and broccoli. So I'm gonna hold off on that because I like those to have some bite at the end.
Exactly. Yep.
I have parsley in the fridge, but that's it.
Now, of course, if your broccoli is looking really rough, just you rinse that off and fine chop it and just put it in there to make it disappear into the soup. So you don't
Yeah,
have.
that's in good shape. I also have some spinach that I'll probably throw in at the very end.
Oh, there you go. Do you have any, are you gonna be adding like any beans or rice or anything?
I have like a cup of cooked rice in the fridge, and then I also have all sorts of canned beans that I could add either black or cannoli or
Yeah, I like beans in stew.
Mhm.
Part of it
And
is-
if you do add beans, you can use a immersion blender, you know, and
Yeah.
thicken it up by, you know,
Yeah.
blending a little bit if you want it, you know, thicker rather than more brothy.
Right,
So
and
my
I,
go-to, if I have too brothy of a soup, is I add TVP, textured soy protein.
That too,
That-
yeah.
I'll grab some too, but it's completely, you know, dehydrated soybeans,
Yeah.
already pre-cooked. And so it'll absorb that extra moisture.
now, Suzanne, will you be putting anything in there that is real starchy, and when would you add that? Like either a yam or the potatoes?
you know, if it was a sweet potato, you could add it, I would add it maybe a half an hour before it's finished.
Yeah,
Because they cook up fairly quickly, and same with potatoes. I usually don't add a lot of potatoes or starchy things to mine because I overcook them. So I know that I overcook them. Sometimes I'll just try to cook them a little bit beforehand and then just add it to the soup at the end.
okay.
So, but
Yeah, I tend to like put
Starting to
everything in
order
the
my
pot and then, you know, kind of forget about it. And certain things you're supposed to add it right at the end. So that's the textured soy protein. You know, it's pre-cooked soybeans that have been dehydrated and chopped up. And so this is like they have them different. You can get like the ground beef ones that are like, you know, big chunks, but they take longer to cook.
Like vegetarian chili.
I find that if I just toss this, you know, at the end, oh, I have way too much moisture in my soup. I toss that in there, and they don't tend to have much flavor, but it's high protein. So,
well, and also, or what you can do, and what I'm going to do in the end of mine, I'm not a fan of really brothy soups. So what I'll do is I'll take a cup or two of the whole broth of the soup, put it into a blender, blend it up, and then add it back, and that'll add, you know, kind of
Awesome.
thicken the broth.
That's what I like to do, yeah. That's why I use the immersion blender, but you could do
Yeah,
it the other way too.
yeah, totally.
I mean, you could take out a cup or two and use the immersion blender right on the cup. In the
Yep,
cup if you
yep.
wanted to. Just don't have it spray all over the place.
Right.
isn't that like how most of the soups at restaurants, they'll you know, blend it together so you don't see what's actually in it because they're going more
Right.
for
Well,
taste.
I've told my story here about 5 times, but for somebody that maybe didn't hear it, I grew up in the restaurant business. My dad used to make soup every day for lunch special, and at the end of the week, he would take all the leftover soups, put them all in a pot, give it a big shot of pepper, and call it pepper pot soup, and people loved it. And of course, every week it was different.
Oh, I grew up, we called that leftover soup.
Exactly.
And then
Yeah,
if there
well,
was
pepper pot
anything
sounds
left
better.
over from leftover soup, we then add flour to it and make like a veggie loaf. Or nowadays they call it veggie burgers.
Mhm.
Right. So Suzanne, we're just gonna, any vegetables we're cutting up, we're just gonna put all in the same pot, right?
Yeah, and unless it's gonna be something that's pretty soft that you want to add at the end.
I guess if
So-
we're making a lot, we might as well start the pan.
Yep, and
So
right
I
now
always
I'm starting
till
my
the last
pan
minute.
now.
And
Yeah, I'm starting my pan now, and we'll put a bunch of oil in it. I've got we
oh,
poured
you're
out.
gonna fry it first?
Yeah, I'm gonna saute it first.
Okay.
So I actually have too much oil that I used last night, so we saved a little bit. So leftover oil.
I save my oil. It's only a 5-gallon container.
I buy it by, I go and get it measured out. So I just keep refilling this year after year. It's an old, like some type of orange juice or
Here's
something.
my thing of oil.
So Suzanne,
look very
Yeah, and that's a pressure cooker pot.
So Suzanne, are
Mine
you
is-
adding garlic at this time, this early?
Yeah. Yep, I added the garlic.
So you're going for a deeply savory soup, and because like I started doing the Asian style of adding garlic right at the end.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, I'm so used to doing it at the beginning that that's kind of what I always do.
Just because I don't know, I've been starting to get really quality garlic and I didn't
Mm.
want to waste it.
Yeah, my garlic was kind of towards the end of its little existence here.
Yeah, so
You could also do this in your Instapot if you wanted to, because it has the saute function.
Mhm.
The Instapot is really good. Let's say you were going to do this and add chicken to it. Man, in like 5 minutes, boy, that you could chop up that chicken, and in 5 minutes in the Instapot it would be cooked.
well,
Oh, yeah,
that's
is
how,
anybody adding meat? I'm not, because I don't have any handy.
I'm always afraid of like old meat, you know? I tend to try to like when I cook it, whatever I have left over. Well, if I do, I'll put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
I guess technically I have. But
Yeah,
right
but
now I'm trying to make just a refrigerator soup. But I guess
Yeah.
if we did a freezer soup,
Yeah.
I could get some.
Yeah. So any soup recipe could have, you know, chicken or shrimp or pork or beef or whatever you want for
Oh,
meat.
I do the same thing. I save the peels from the seafood, like shrimp
Mhm.
or lobster
Oh,
or any
yeah,
of
you
that
make a
stuff.
seafood broth.
So I have to be careful. I used to have like 5 different bags in the freezer. Now I just have 3. I'll have well 4 because if I'm doing beef. So I'll have a seafood one, a chicken one, a veggie one, and a beef one. So all right, so I've just got onions and carrots in there so far. I got some
Yep,
more.
so- So I put my onions, celery, and carrots, so I've got them in the pan sauteing.
But I have these 2 jalapenos that are looking really rough that I think
Nice.
I'll put them in there.
Mhm.
Oh, one thing. Here, I'll just start cutting right into the pot.
Don't rub your eye after you chop up your chilies.
If you do get your lemons extremely dry, you could put them also in the broth. So technically today I'm cooking 2 because I got the one chicken broth into the pot. Oh, Fred, you made me say it. I always try to say pressure cooker to not pick a certain brand. Electronic pressure cooker.
Multi-pressure cooker. Multi-function pressure cooker.
So I have something really fun that I think you're gonna like, or I have these favorite pretzels that I like, and they're bold and zesty. They're seasoned with garlic and onion. I save the bottom of the package, and it always has all this salt and seasoning. And then I throw that in while I'm cooking different things to add flavor.
Nice.
It's kind of
I've
fun.
done that before with if I had like a gourmet bag of chips,
Yep.
like I would save the bottom. I was just like, ooh, this is a really good flavored chip.
And it's oftentimes very salty. So, you know, a little goes a long way.
Mhm.
My favorite go-to spice thing now is Costco has the all organic spice mix. There's no salt, and it's got like 20 different spices in, and it's all kind of chopped up. And you
I
can
mean,
just
my
put that in
spice
anything.
mix isn't your favorite, Fred?
Well, I've used it all up.
Oh, okay, I'll have to make a new batch. But I do have. There's my base. I've got it dried up. See, it's a bag of sun-dried tomatoes and dried mushrooms.
I was just going to add, if this right, if you have if you happen to have dehydrated mushrooms or mushroom powder, that's another ingredient you can throw in a soup
Oh,
anytime.
yeah,
Umami.
that would be fabulous.
It's
Give
true.
it
I
a
probably
little
should just
umami.
make some just plain mushroom powder instead of my mix.
You can do that too, but
Yeah, I'm getting low myself. There's my mix. See my Cajun Creole. It's sun-dried tomatoes and mushroom base.
I wonder what would happen if you threw a can of anchovies in there to give it some umami. Because they'll just cook right up and they won't give a fishy flavor. People think, oh, I'm not going to use anchovy, it'll taste like fish, but it doesn't taste like fish.
As long as you put something sour to balance it out, or
Yeah,
right?
you could always add lemon juice or something.
Well, since I cooked with Fred that pasta puttanesca, I now keep some little cans of anchovies always in my cupboard as just, you know.
Yeah, they're so easy to keep in your pantry, they last forever.
Well, I actually had a hard time finding them. So like now I keep them so I don't have to worry about trying to track them down again. All right, so far I'm doing it, you know, of course me, I'm always doing a bigger pot. I put
And you're going to have pretty spicy with your 2 jalapenos in there.
I put 2 whole jalapenos, but it also has 3 onions. Let me use up these garlics. These garlics are looking pretty dry. These were harvested last fall. I need the farmer I got these from, they just opened the farmer's market, you know, winter's over. And he announced that he's retiring. So I have to reach out to him and say, hey, can I still get garlic from you? I usually get such wonderful garlic. But I mean, he's been a farmer at that farmer's market for like 40 years. So it's about time he retired. I mean, not about time he retired, but I'm glad he's being able to. All right. These were the elephant garlics.
And we talked about it before. Elephant garlic is not true garlic. It's a different plant, but it's similar. And it's milder.
Well, I think he must have, somehow he grows these that they have a good garlic flavor. Like
Yeah,
most,
no, it should. Yeah, I mean, it's it should taste like garlic, but it's
past
kinda
elephant
like a
garlic
cousin.
I've had did not have a really strong elephant garlic flavor. All right, Suzanne,
Yeah,
you're putting a lot more carrots. What do you have in your pot so far?
I've got the celery, carrots, onion, and garlic.
All right. I don't know why I've never really become one that commonly buys celery. It's a very cheap and
In some stores, you can buy just, you don't have to buy a whole head of, you don't have to buy the whole celery. You can just buy 2 or
Yep.
3 celery
At
stalk.
my co-op, you can do that.
Yeah,
I like that.
because most of us can't use a whole thing of celery.
but I mean I don't feel like it ever goes bad.
Oh, it does.
It's
dry.
in water.
But
I have a question. Are you going to use any tomatoes or canned tomatoes or anything?
I'm not.
Okay.
Not today. I'm not feeling a tomato vibe today.
Yeah. Well, that'd be an option if somebody. I mean, it's because should always have those in the pantry. So.
Yeah, and I have a couple in the pantry. I've got some. You grab a couple. I've got a big batch of dried chilies.
Look at that.
Is that pretty?
Reminds me of New Mexico, where they hang them outside. You drive along and you see them hanging outside on the porch.
Yeah, so we need a couple for this.
all right.
4 should be good.
So what what is something you feel like you shouldn't put in here?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
That was what Bruce said. I asked him quickly. What would I? You know, you kind of have to figure out what your palate, your flavor
Yeah,
palate.
if there's
is
something you
gonna
don't
be.
like the flavor of, don't put it in there.
Yeah. But
You
know,
said you don't tend to put starches, so you wouldn't put like sweet potatoes or potatoes.
yeah. Or if you're intending to make something that's more on the Italian or Mexican side, then you don't want to add a flavor palette that's Moroccan. Well, that would be that's
Right.
right. Or you know, Thai, like a Thai soup.
Yeah.
So I had a piece of ginger that's starting to get pretty dry, and then I had this rosemary, so I added a little of that in there.
Yeah, if you wanted to make this kind of Indian, you could, you know, use all kinds of sort of Indian spices for your flavor profile.
Yeah, so when we start to get, so mine has started to get soft. You can see that the onions are translucent. So now I'm gonna add, so what I did is I actually what's the word? Soaked a bunch of northern beans last night. I thought, oh, okay, so I'm gonna put those in now. If you're using canned beans, I would hold off. Don't put the canned beans until towards the end.
So these are uncooked beans?
Yep,
Are they,
Like
have they been
pre-
soaked? Have they been soaked?
yep, I soaked them overnight.
Okay.
It was about a cup.
I guess.
Yeah, I
Well, I do have
like beans
potatoes,
and
so
soup.
I'm gonna cut my potatoes up.
Well, I have some sweet potatoes in there. That's my starch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine.
I'm not opposed to canned beans. They're just so handy. I know it's better if you do it from scratch, but they're just so handy to have in the
Oh yeah,
pantry.
canned beans are awesome.
Yeah.
So I soaked about a cup of dried beans. So it's equivalent to 1, 2,
It's like 3 to 1,
like 2.5.
2.5.
So, and then, yeah, 2.5 for me. And these are the northern
And that you really get your protein there.
navy beans. That's what they were, navy beans. And I need more of those in my diet. And so now I'm gonna add the water to it.
Have you ever made a sweet soup with like all your leftover fruits?
Mm. I've never done that.
It's technically it's more of what do they call it? Like a chutney.
It's a good idea.
I didn't catch that part, isn't it? You want me to swing over so you know?
Okay, I almost forgot. I got these charred bottoms that I want to get
So
rid
what
of.
I'm doing is I have not made my own broth. So I'm just using a bouillon, which is a liquid bouillon. And I have my, what's it called, water, hot water. I like to boil my water first in my tea maker.
Mhm.
And I hardly ever measure, I just pour it in.
I used to, a lot of times when I do a stir fry or a soup,
Mm-hmm.
I will quite literally start the fryer or the boil water and just start putting the stuff that takes the longer to cook first and just, you know, progress.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
you just made some veggie broth. I missed that.
Yep, just made some veggie broth. Very simple. And so I don't have enough in, so I'm gonna add a whole bunch more because what happens is on Sunday nights, I wind up making a whole bunch of food that I will eat over the course of the week.
Yep.
That's how I cook. That's all.
Yeah, that's my I tend to do no technology Sunday mornings, and so that's my time. In the past was historically my time. Look how colorful it is once I added that charred bit bottom.
What's the red in there? It looks like a radish or something.
That's the charred bottoms. So,
Nice.
you know, I don't waste the
Oh, yeah,
fibrous
okay, I see it now.
bottom of the charred. So I put that in a little later instead of this, like, you know, you put the celery in the beginning because that takes a long time. Charred cooks quicker.
So I still haven't quite figured my flavor palette. So, but what I'm going to do is I know I need a whole bunch more water because I have dried beans. And so I've got my water cooker cooking some more, boiling up some more water.
Now, instead of beans, you could put
Mhm.
anything that soaked up water, I guess, right? You could
Oh,
put
yeah.
rice
But
now or any, right?
Mhm.
Any kind of grain or
Mhm.
what-
Rice,
oh, legumes, any kind of grain or legume.
Yeah.
rice
Use
or
lentils,
lentils.
rice,
Yep, exactly. Or
noodle. Well, later you could even do noodles if
You
you
could do-
wanted, but
noodles at the end. Yeah, yeah.
problem is
So-
they get mushy if you put them. You could do the noodles separately because if you leave them in the pot, they'll kind of go mushy.
I guess it matters what kind of lentils. The green lentils, to me, they seem to never get cooked down.
Some of them
Yeah,
are
the
like-
French green lentils, they hold their shape if that's what you're looking for.
We actually
Um,
have scheduled, we have two types of lentils coming, dal. One from Nepal and one vegetarian. Well, I guess it's mostly
I've
French.
done the French green lentils and then just put a vinegar, cook them, serve them cold, and then put a vinaigrette and make it like a salad. It's really good.
So I've got a bowl over here.
How did
where
everybody
I-
else learn to do, good knife skills?
What do you got, Suzanne?
I'm flailing a knife around. So what I've got is I've got some of the things that don't take that long to cook. So a lot of the
Oh.
peppers,
Mhm.
my kale. So I'm just tossing them all in a bowl.
Now, every time you make this soup, people always say, oh, that's so good. What's your recipe? And you're like, and
Never
you're
know.
like, I don't even remember it myself. Next time it'll be just as good, but I still won't remember that recipe either.
People always ask my dad the same thing. Oh, how do you make this? Oh, that's an old family secret. We can't tell you.
Just like,
So I do recommend, and I do this all the time, I write in my cookbooks when I follow a recipe and I change things, I'll write what I did. And the most important note is make again or do not do this, because sometimes I see that I've made something and it's like, okay, Lulu, did you like it? I'll see the date, I'll even see who I cooked with or whatever, but it won't say make again or delicious, no indication. So, but you can keep notes for yourself, like, wow, this was a really good combination. And because I have a real sucky memory, and so making notes of what I did, when I did it, and if I liked it,
yeah.
if you're so inclined.
Yep.
I mean, the hard thing about any type of vegetable is, what are the flavors of that vegetable at that time of the year?
Yep.
True.
I feel like we've got spoiled by getting all these things that look like vegetables, but don't really have any flavor to them.
Mhm.
You go to the store nowadays and you get, what is it? Celery or broccoli. Both of those are, not in nature how we have made them, right?
Yeah.
Introducing the all-new Stealth Fairway.
And then tend to have, at least in the US, a lot of very unflavored vegetables.
So, all right, so I've decided, I'm gonna put the spice in mine, and I've decided to go a little bit more on the Mexican palate. So I'm gonna put some, this is not an actual measure, I'm just tossing it in. And we'll see what happens. So some oregano. What else was I gonna put in? Cumin.
Yep, cumin.
Oh, shit. So, and my cumin is only whole. So I have to grind it up. And normally I would toast it.
So if you have
What
you
is
have
that,
whole
Suzanne?
whole cumin, you actually always toast it and then grind it.
I usually do that, yep.
Okay. I have the mortar and pestle, but I got lazy. I got one of those little coffee grinders.
I have a coffee grinder too that's called the, it's called the, oh, shoot, it's got a name.
I mean, it'll only do small amounts, but oh yeah,
It's
that's
called-
exactly the one I have, or that
Yeah, a
size.
little blade dry, yeah, a little.
It's
blade
called
grinder.
this, it's called the Sixth Spice Girl.
Oh, really?
All right, some cumin. What else? Chili powder.
I mean, I just have this fresh rosemary and fresh dill, so I don't think I'm going to add anything else. I mean, it was fresh in that it was picked a month ago, but it stayed pretty fresh.
Chili powder.
I need to put in a paper bag.
You already had the chili. What else do we put in?
Thing I really like too recently is smoked paprika.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's it. Smoked paprika.
I luckily have some Amish near here that smoke it. They do an apple smoke.
Wow.
So I get that. So yeah, I mean, I actually entered a vegetarian chili in a contest and got down to the final round with, I didn't tell anybody it was vegetarian. I just wanted to see if I could like, and so again, I did, the TVP, but yeah, my secret ingredient was
Maybe.
Hmm?
Time.
the apple smoked paprika and then smoke flavor,
Oh, yeah.
So, all right.
They sometimes call artificial smoke. When you're trying to get something smoky, you can just buy the
Oh.
smoky flavor.
So,
So I've put in mine, I put oregano, thyme, smoked paprika.
You say
Cumin.
curry powder? You say curry powder?
Nope, cumin
Cool.
and epazote.
otherwise,
Mr. Growth?
anytime you have a recipe that says calls for cilantro, just use cumin. Then you don't have to.
What's epazote or whatever you said?
Epazote is it's a leafy Mexican, I think it's Mexican.
Yeah.
That, yeah, you can add to dishes that it's supposedly supposed to take the fartiness away from the beans.
Exactly. That's why Mexicans use it in their beans. Yeah, it takes out
Yeah.
the farts.
What is
Yeah.
it? Herb?
Yeah, this is what it looks like.
So
Oh, here I have to go up. So,
mine looks so phenomenal already, but the potatoes are not cooked, so I can't taste it.
well, you can taste the broth. You should
Oh,
always taste it as you go along.
So
And what about black pepper? I'm a
Oh,
big,
yeah,
I love
yep.
black.
I love
Ja-
black pepper. too.
Jane says, sorry, everyone, I'm in a train and got confused by the time because we switched to Central. So Jane's
Oh.
reporting in.
Hi, Jane.
but our show is in Central Time.
Oh, there she is.
Jane. I don't know. The show is 1 p.m. Central. You almost got away with that excuse.
Well, I have put just about everything in my soup already. And now it's just boiling away.
Yeah.
And I tasted it, it tastes pretty good.
Awesome.
And I'm gonna use what is it called? Conversion, what do you call it?
Immersion blender.
The immersion blender.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that blender in a little while. And then in my freezer, I have some coconut milk. So at the end, I'm gonna add the coconut milk.
Barbara always figures out a way to Africanize it.
Wow.
No, I mean, that's a way you could,
Nice.
I like it. What do they always do in the fancy restaurants? They always put cream in it and then they act like it's a fancy soup, right?
And butter, a dollop of butter.
Mhm.
Everybody's like, oh, why is it so good at a restaurant? I was just like, because they don't care about your health.
Well, and also what I'll do with mine is I'll take the soup and before I serve it is put a drizzle of really good olive oil on it.
High-end olive oil, yeah.
Yeah, yep. I have a special one just for that.
So that's
Pay for
where I do,
expensive stuff for drizzle.
that's where I mince some fresh garlic and put that on there. So I'm not wasting my garlic.
Or shallot, I'm not shallots, green onions, you can chop.
Green onions or any kind
Green
of fresh
onion,
herb.
chives are good. You know, another like
Chives.
a grate of any kind of cheese over it is good, or croutons. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of creativity when it comes to this soup.
Yeah, I've been planting green onions, and you could just cut one off near the ground and use it, and it'll just grow right back up.
We wind up eating our green onions. Right now, they're about this tall in the garden. I'll just keep chopping it and eating it. And then in midway in the summer, when it gets too hot, I'll just start eating the bulbs.
Nice.
Because
And they're just store-bought ones that you stick in the ground?
no, mine came with the house, believe it or not. So they're 10 years old.
If you buy any green onions who still have the roots on it,
Yeah.
you can just, chop it off and just put the,
But when you buy those green onions at the grocery store with the roots, that's the ones I buy, and you put, they already have roots, you just stick them in the ground. They don't make a bulb.
Mm,
They'll
Yeah.
get big. I mean, they'll get, I really like them because I like them because they grow in my garden well. But they'll get big and tall, it's amazing how big they get, but they're still not a bulb at the bottom.
the bulbs that they make are about this big and they're in the ground.
Yeah, it's a different species
It is.
than what's
so-
in the grocery store.
do you
So-
ever add pasta to this?
You can,
Good.
but you're gonna
Like,
add
do
that
you
towards
ever
the
cook
end.
the pasta right in the water or do you cook it separate? in there?
Something like a rotini or a macaroni
Yeah.
or something like that.
And I would cook it when you know that you're about 5 minutes away from being finished.
And you want ones that, like, here's the one I was thinking of doing. It's
Yeah,
tricolor.
rotini. I was thinking rotini.
They, ones that don't fall apart very easy.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you don't want very
Yeah.
thin noodles because they'll just.
Yeah, you don't want angel hair pasta or something like
I
that.
mean, you can, it's gonna cook real quick. You know, everything's a matter of timing. It's not necessarily you can't do it. It's just you gotta know your ingredients,
Yeah,
how long to cook them. Like I was gonna recommend those little cherry tomatoes at the end. Really, they only need maximum. You don't want them to explode. You just want them to stay whole and get really warm inside. And you got to be careful because they'll burn you, because the rest of the soup will cool down and they'll stay really hot. But they're a neat little addition. I call them cherry bombs because they're just floating in your soup, but you can't put them in too early. It's like maybe 7 minutes into a hot soup. So
yeah,
Lulu, my favorite soup that I have a local like high quality restaurant
mhm.
and they make a tomato bisque, which all it is it's what is it? Roasted tomatoes and add cream to it. I was
Wow.
thinking I could make that soup and then just put right before I serve it, put some of those
Cherry.
tomatoes in there. That would be like a
It'd be cute. I just love seeing those because they're just a big blob of white red everywhere. It's fun. Yeah.
and if you wanted a finer pasta, let's say you wanted to use rice noodles or something, you just cook them separately and just add them in the bowl and then pour the soup on it.
oh yeah, add them.
Put it in the big pot.
That's why I was
personally-
asking if you cook the noodles separately and then just
I personally would. It's similar to what Suzanne said about adding, like a cooked potato at the end, because it just depends upon what you want your soup to look like. If you want it
Mhm.
clear and brothy with these beautiful things floating around, then you're gonna, not And then, but if you end up creaming it, then who cares, you know?
It's starting to get hot in here. I think I need to go turn the air conditioner on.
Uh-oh.
Just like, I did turn the air conditioner on yesterday for the first time. I've been trying to hold off. You know, I live off grid, so I don't want to waste my energy. But
Mhm.
finally, I was just like, "Ugh." I put it on the lowest setting. I call it dehumidification setting, or it just takes the
Nice.
humidity out of the house.
Yeah.
Yep.
My house, I actually just did buy a stove vent to go above my stove, because
nice.
basically any of the humidity that happens in the house doesn't leave the house. So
Mm.
I bought it, and it'll probably be a year before I put it in, but at least it'll be sitting on my front porch mocking me as I walk in. So
I have another thing to share as far as preserving food or not throwing food away. When I get the agaricus mushrooms, the little everyday button mushrooms,
Mhm.
I immediately throw them into paper bags, and I'll use them. And the same with my cherry tomatoes. They're sitting out and they're getting all shriveled. I still cook with them. I don't cook with moldy, but they just start dehydrating on their own. And what I did with this soup is I took out a bag of my dried out mushrooms, popped off the stem, chopped them up, added hot water, and it's just a little, you can either blend them in your herb thingy or just run a knife through them. And it adds a real strong onion or mushroom flavor that's not the same as fresh mushrooms. So
Right.
if you put, and also if they start getting slimy and looking really bad, that at that stage of the mushroom is the best time to use them for making cream of mushroom soup, because their flavors seem to concentrate as they start to dry.
Nice.
I actually completely forgot, when I cleaned out the back of the fridge, I had this bag of mushrooms, and look at this. It's just like, it's an oyster. And in its case, it looks like it's starting to mold, but it's actually growing more mushroom.
Wow.
It stays humid. This is one way of, like, if you do have a fridge that tends to run humid, put a bag of mushrooms in the back and it'll absorb the humidity in there. Like, I reached in the very bottom of this bag and it's actually growing into the bag this little bit of lion's mane. Like, I pulled it, it's actually there's a wet spot right there that it was growing into. So so I really like putting mushrooms, but as you guys know, I put food out for charity, and I have at least 2 people who regularly get food from me that have asked me not to put mushrooms because they're allergic.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So in my case, I tend to put, you know, my spice mix is mushroom tomato base, so I tend to use that for a lot of things. So I started being more conscious of that. So I
So
have the
it
luck of
wasn't-
having a local farmer who grows a lot of phenomenal mushrooms. So bless you.
Good. Oh, my gosh. So it was interesting. Last night, I followed it and looked at a whole bunch of different recipes and online for soup, and just trying to get flavor palettes. I had so much fun. So I'm gonna make a lot more soup, because you have the regular Italian one. Everyone knows the Italian one, the oregano, thyme, basil, rosemary, the Mexican one. And then there was this one recipe for this Greek chickpea soup. And it's got chickpeas, onions, garlic, celery, carrot, lemon zest, rosemary, thyme, and olive oil. And that's all that's in it. But it's this guy who just had so much fun making it. He talks about sexy chickpeas. And it's interesting. He says, soak it for no longer, if you get dried chickpeas, soak them for no longer than 6 hours. And when you cook them, never add salt. That only comes at the end, because it'll make the skins firm and the inside too mushy. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm like, so I might have to make that. Sounded really good.
Sounds good.
Yeah. My beans are still moderately firm. They'll probably be done in another 10 minutes or so.
actually pretty quick for beans.
They're small ones too, so.
Mine was
Yeah, she
boiling.
soaked them. She soaked them. So
And I also don't like much moisture, so I'm gonna soak it up with these noodles.
Nice, that's good.
So
So my sister has a name for her thicker soups. She calls them stoops because they're a combination of a soup and a stew. They're not quite as thick as a stew.
what did she call them?
Stoop.
stoop.
I thought you said stew, so I was just like, that's a regular thick soup.
No, it's soup and stew combined. She calls it a stoop.
I love that.
Soup.
So perfect.
She also calls a tree that she doesn't want, a tweed.
Tweed. I like that.
She loves making up words.
That is amazing.
She's a bit of a writer.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming up on an hour, which we try to not go tremendously over.
Yeah.
So everybody, I just put my pasta in. Part of it is I'm making, as usual, and I think Suzanne is, a big pot of it. If you're gonna do it, it's not much more work. What are you adding now?
I'm adding the softer stuff. So the green peppers, the sweet peppers, and the kale.
Okay. Just
Yeah,
a
it might
few-
be too early, but we'll see. It's an
Yeah.
experiment. Everything's always an experiment. It's
Yeah.
always fun.
and so-
Yeah, I made a huge pot. I think I'm gonna, once it's all done, go around and deliver to friends and family.
Nice. That's cool.
And maybe freeze some. I've really gotten into freezing portions of food for me, and it's so nice just to, I even take the frozen thing to work, and I clean houses for a living, and I'll just
Mhm.
pop it in a bowl and thaw whatever it is out in their microwave and sit down and have like a really delicious meal smack dab in the middle of the day in someone else's house. It's really good.
So consider looking up or joining a freezer group. I just actually wrote the chapter in my book about cooking clubs and swap groups and freezer groups. But what that is you make a big pot of enough for like 6 or 8 servings, and you find 6 or 8 other people, and you meet once a month to swap everything. And so when you leave the freezer group, you end up with 6 or 8 other meals of other
Nice.
people's food.
That's
And
good.
So let's do that here, Ora, and you come on up and we'll throw a freezer party.
just I'm sure St. Louis has one, but it was interesting. I was the only one in the group that was not a family. And so everybody else was, they were cooking for families. And so they would always cook a big pot, but they would get bored of their own cooking. And so the idea was you cook a huge pot and then just put them in gallon freezer bags and put them in the freezer. And then once a month, or however frequently you want to do it, now if you had single individuals, instead of a gallon bag, you would do like a quart bag, so that it's individual servings instead of family servings. So, but
And sometimes too, what I saw in this one recipe, I haven't tried it myself. If the flavor is not quite right, add just a touch of sugar to it. So
It
that can
never hurts
sometimes-
to add a dash of lemon too at the end with a little,
Yeah.
for a little acid.
Yep.
And the zest on top is bright and it's pretty.
And I have this one, which is starting to become a very sad lemon.
So that's where I could have just thrown in this dried lemon. So it's actually slightly not dried yet. I can,
If you cut it open, it would still be juicy,
Yeah.
so.
even the dried ones.
My soup is finished and I just had a little bowl of it and it's so delicious.
Oh,
So,
yay.
Yeah.
What type of
What's the
flavor?
description of what kind of soup you made, Barbara?
Yeah, what
I
spices?
had,
did you put in?
combination of vegetables, which is celery, onion, tomato that was left in the refrigerator. Then I had a couple of, cartons of chicken broth. Then I had some chicken that I had cut up and put in there, and carrot, broccoli, cauliflower. Let's see. Oh,
And coconut milk.
and then coconut milk. And then I had to add a little bit more salt because when I tasted it, it wasn't enough salt. And then I had a jalapeno pepper in there too, and
Nice.
black pepper. And then the spices I used basil and garlic powder and
Nice.
salt.
You're missing some African spices.
No, I didn't use any of those.
No, I'm just, well, I mean, technically, isn't black pepper from Africa?
You know,
Or it's
I
from
just don't-
India.
Is it?
I
don't
know they
if
grow up in
that's-
India.
Can you imagine? That was my only confusion when I visited Cuba, was there was no black pepper. I was so used to everywhere restaurant you go to, we have like, you know, a shaker of salt and a shaker of black pepper.
So what they have, white pepper?
They didn't have pepper at all.
Oh no, they had to have some kind of pepper. They don't have spicy food there? I think they do. Don't
They tend to be more European. So they have fresh bread instead of tortillas,
Uh-huh.
and definitely less spicy, more in line with food from Spain than Central or South America.
Hmm.
So I fell in love with all the fresh juices though. I mean, you could have fresh juice all the time, tropical juices, and then in similar in Thailand, but they would have a little container of like 6 different hot peppers. So one would be in soy sauce, one would be in lemon juice, one would be in vinegar. You know, so you could put your little hot peppers on your and flavor your food however you wanted. So, yep. All right.
But I think African slaves did go to Cuba also. So I read in the market, a big marketplace, that you can go for African food there, and I'm sure there's plenty of pepper.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And it could have been just, you know, I was only around Havana. So it could be, you know, communities just like you can go to India, and there's one town in India that's all Jewish. So like all the food, and similar to Brazil. I went to one town in Brazil and all the food in that town was German. And
And if you in India, if you go to the state of Gujarat, get ready to eat a lot of sugar in your food. Everything is sweet.
so
Probably a huge diabetes too there.
I'll show you guys my soup. I guess at this point it's almost a stew because I put a couple packages of the tricolor rotini in it. And so you can see it's,
Oh, yeah. Oh, it is. Like a
Nice.
stew.
well, here, look, I mean, there's lots and lots of liquid in it still,
Uh-huh.
but it's definitely more of you know, I mean, it's got a lot of nice thick liquid. Part of that is I put the potatoes in there. So that's, if I really wanted to, I could take some of those potatoes out, mash them, and then put them back in, or what, add some. So this right here, I kind of followed a chicken soup recipe without the chicken.
Suzanne's
I
getting
think
ready
you
to
actually
blend
have
up some of
too much,
hers.
Rotini or whatever.
So I'm taking some of mine and putting it in a blender to thicken it up a little bit.
I mean, it's pretty thick, mine.
Mine's very thin.
Oh, that's so tasty. And I didn't put any spices in it. Well, I had the fresh rosemary and dill.
Yeah.
So technically, I guess, but I didn't put like any dried spices in mine.
I better turn off my
Onions,
mic.
garlic. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, mine was pretty good too. I only added half of a jalapeno and I could, feel the pepper in my mouth.
This is where
Course,
you
I
have
have
a
a small-
soup potluck and everybody brings some and then we have
But
everybody.
I didn't make, I'm only one person, so I didn't make a huge big pot.
Now, Suzanne, do you ever put dairy in yours?
Yeah. Kind of depends on what I'm going for.
So you could put a cream or I mean, I've done that before where I had, you know, maybe cheese that has a couple spots of mold on it, and I figure I want to get rid of it, or
Yep.
milk or
Yep.
sour cream that's too sour.
Yep.
Uh,
I've done that before. So I added some more. So I blended a bunch of it. So you can see that it's no longer a clear broth.
mhm.
It's not super, what's it called? It's not super thick by any means. So right now it's still a little too thin for my taste. So what I'll probably wind up doing is, you know, tossing in some pasta or some rice if I feel like it.
So one trick I learned from people who work in the restaurant industry, have parboiled rice around. It means it's already pre-cooked. Just like I throw in, you know, my TVP that's pre-cooked to just soak it up. Parboiled rice, you can just throw in there and it doesn't need to be cooked. It just needs to be rehydrated.
True.
And so
Yeah, so I haven't decided.
part of it is I've been, you know, trying to do a lot of cooking where I have to transport it somewhere else to serve it. And you can't have much moisture in a lot of things to transport easily. Otherwise it starts sloshing around your vehicle. So figure out ways to absorb all that good tasting liquid.
So,
All
yeah,
right,
I'm gonna
anybody
try
else
some-
want to?
How's Lulu doing? How's her soup? Lulu,
Zupa,
Hi,
Zupa.
let me show you. I just added my broccoli and I opened a can of Great Northern beans. I'm gonna put in, they're already cooked. And then I'm just gonna warm through some zucchini, maybe for 5 or 10 minutes, so it has a lot of crunch and green. And then
Nice.
I have my cherry bombs, these shriveled up little ones, they'll go in at the same time as the zucchini. And so it'll be red and green and orange and
Nice.
and I did do the dehydrated mushrooms, as well as I had just the tail end package of sun-dried tomatoes, which are very strong flavor. So it's nothing like I've ever made before and probably won't be able to make again, but it smells really good and I tasted the broth and so
sun-dried tomatoes would be awesome.
yeah, and then my liquid, this is gonna sound really strange, it's not real clear. A day ago or so, I had made homemade chicken broth and made dumplings. So
Ooh,
they were
I need
cake.
to learn how to make dumplings. I always mess them up.
Oh, I got a super easy recipe. It's just from the joy of cooking, but I swear by it. But so my broth, I had scooped out immediately all the dumplings. So the broth is a little cloudy from the starch from the dumplings that I had already cooked in it. But I thought, you know, it's a kitchen soup or a kitchen sink soup kind of thing. And
Oh, also what I like to add to my soup, because I like crunch,
mhm.
chop up almonds, raw almonds.
Ooh.
Ooh.
so you put
I-
that right on the top.
I will
Great
add-
idea.
I will add almonds to everything. I add it to my meatloaf. I add it to soup. I don't think Bruce likes it in soup though. Do you not like it in soup, Bruce? Oh, you're insane. He doesn't like chunky soup like that. I will add it to my portion then.
Almonds is one of the few nuts that people aren't allergic to too. So if you're serving it to others, you don't have to worry about it. So I made, you know, what I made here is a vegetarian soup.
Mhm.
I did add a can. I wanted some protein. So I was looking for some white beans, but I didn't have any, but I had garbanzos. So
Nice.
I added some garbanzos to it. But There's that.
I added pasta to mine, so mine should be ready in less than 5 minutes.
All right.
Oh yeah, I forgot about my leftover rice too. So it's gonna be rice and bean. It's just everything.
That's awesome.
So this is the simple, boring ass soup. Is that what?
I
No.
think so. Fred, what are we calling it? Yeah, boring ass simple soup. Simple.
Boring ass simple soup.
Oh no, we forgot the damn. No, it's like that's those Northerners for you.
Right.
Like when it's cold out, you're just like, I need to make me some damn simple, boring ass soup.
There you go.
There you
That's
go. But
perfect.
this right here, I think I want to have some of everybody's soup here.
I know. That'd be nice.
Suzanne, do you have any final words here you want to share of wisdom, or anybody have final questions?
I'd just say throw anything together and try it. Because why
Just
not?
like, why not?
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Feel free to stick around and eat with us and talk with us. And
Yeah.
food brings the world together.
You got it.
Oh, my new hashtag, well, not my new hashtag. My hashtag was feeding others is love.
Aw.
Mhm.